Okay, in this year we'll make a summary and a chazara of what we spoke till now, and as always the best way of making any summary is to take a practical example. So, Baruch Hashem, right now we are in Chodesh El Tafshin Pei Beis, and it's almost another month is going to be Erev Rosh Hashanah Tafshin Pei Gimel. So, the Sefer Chazon Shamayim calculated the values, but everything what the Rambam gives in his days, he recalculated it for, I think it's Tafshin Samach, something like that. So, I just, since it's a long time since then, so I recalculated for values for September 18, 2020, that's Erev Rosh Hashanah 5781. That day is the Erev Rosh Hashanah of Tafshin Pei Aleph. That's 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. At 6 p.m. Yerushalayim time. So the values are like this. The Emtza Shemesh is A means the initial, because that's like the time where we're going to use that date for anything else in the next lessons. We'll use that date as a starting point. So the Emtza Shemesh A means of the initial time is 178.300869. As you can see, it's very close to 180, so it's very close to Mazel Meznayim. That's Rosh Hashanah. That's cool. Next, Emtza Yerach is 193. You can see that it's already the moon is already 5 degrees after the sun, so it's after the Moed already. Not a full day, but a few hours, maybe half a day. That's called Emtza Yerach A, means because it's the initial time. Then Emtza Masl is what we explained. That's the Masl, that's the epicycle, the Galgal cotton, that goes 13.064891 degrees per day. That's the cycle, the small dial that we call it EM in the pictures. And we said we have to add to that the tiny movement that gets pushed because of the has to do with the hayerach. Anyway, this is the Emtza Masl. All these numbers are calculated with the Rambam, with his figures, and just going thousands and thousands of days and whatever. So I used the Chazon Shamayim and I went further. Now, we want for Erev Rosh Hashanah 5783, that's September 25, 2022. So, very, very simple, you can simply look at a calendar. It's 737 days have passed. Why? Because it's 365 times 2. It's from September 18 till September 18. And another, that's 730. Another 7 days, because it's September 25. And that has to do because this year Tafshin Pei Beis was Ibayar. So it is since Erev Rosh Hashanah Tafshin Pei Aleph till Erev Rosh Hashanah Tafshin Pei Gimel, Baruch Hashem, 737 days have passed. Now we need to find the new values. So we do first 737 times 0.9856472. That is a movement that the sun, the Emtza Shemesh, goes each day. It's a little bit less than a degree. So we get for that 726.4219864 plus ESA. We have to add that number to the initial number. So the final number is 184. Now obviously, the rule is we always subtract any number that's above 360. The Rambam says that rule. We keep on dropping multiples of 360. So we know that the Emtza Shemesh for this year, Erev Rosh Hashanah, mamish 6 p.m. in Yerushalayim time, would be 184. And it has to do with the fact that it was an Ibayar, so the sun is already a little bit behind. It's already 4 degrees in Meznayim. Next comes, you calculate EY, that's Emtza Yerach. So the klal is, the Rambam says the moon, the emtza hayerach, that's point C in the diagram. Maybe we can show it in this picture. Just move up and drop the screen. We can see the okay. We showed this picture many times already. I just cut it and pasted it here. So the EC C is the point in space where the moon is. E is the Earth, and M is the real moon. C is the emtza. CM is the one that keeps on revolving clockwise around point C. That's how it works. CM is a rod that goes around point C, and it goes each day 13.064981 degrees. The Rambam says that. So we have to find out what's the where the revolution of where's CM up to. So we do the same thing. We calculate for 737 days plus we add the initial and we subtract 360 as before. We get 75. And this picture you can see that CM is very close to 75. Just it's the after the Shmai that it came out so well. Anyway, okay. Because if it would be straight, it would be 90. So it's the angle of GCM. That's the actual, what we call the masl hanochin. After we add already the tiny angle for the as you said, the CG is also a rod that keeps on going back and forth. So after everything is added, we have the final position of CM. And here, so far we did not add that yet. We'll soon see. First, we just found out the angle of 75.57. That's just without adding that tiny movement. That we have to do now. So let's see. Merchik Kofel. So that we know, the Rambam says that tiny movement is directly related to Merchik Kofel. So we take Merchik Kofel. Merchik Kofel means you make 2 times the emtza shemesh minus emtza hayerach. Now we see that it's the emtza hayerach is 184 and the emtza shemesh is 184. So it's a tiny merchik kofel. It's less than a degree. Since the merchik kofel is so tiny, we ignore it. So obviously this picture is not for that, because here you see the angle is a very big. You see this angle is merchik kofel. OEC is merchik kofel. Obviously, it's much more than it looks like 40 degrees. And here we say it's only. So this picture is not meant for this. And here, in this situation, we only have a tiny merchik kofel. So you have to imagine. So you see in this that the merchik kofel is very tiny here, so we can ignore it. It's like you have to imagine that the angle CEO or OEEC, whatever you want to call it, is almost flat. The picture wouldn't look too great. So anyway, I made a picture so it should be more visible the angle. But in this situation, the merchik kofel, since it's so close to the moiled, so close, so the sun hardly moved away. The emtza shemesh is very close to the emtza hayerach, and even if you double that, it's still very tiny angle. Anyway, now we give you some ratios here. This is important for anything because we never gave this yet. EO, let's assume EO is 1, and CO is 4.81, and CM is 0.507. This is given by Chazon Shemayim. This is what the Kadmonim figured out, the ratios of EO and OC and CM. Now obviously, all the other stuff keep on changing because, for example, EC, it depends on the angles. EO is an actual rod. OC is also a rod. But according to those angles, they create the distance from E to C. And we spoke about that in the early video. So it's really only the EO and EC that's known, and CM also. All the other stuff we have to just use trigonometry and some laws of trigonometry to find, and that's what we'll do here. This video is for somebody who's really into trigonometry, and if not, you can just ignore this whole video, or you can just listen to it and, you know, get a feel of something at least. So anyway, we're taking here these ratios of EO and CO. It's ratios. I used EO to be 1. Like this, it's easier to work with. And CM would be half of that, almost a little bit more than half, and then CO would be almost 5 times the amount. Now, we'll use some formulas. Our tachlis is to find the angle CEM. CEM is called the Manos HaMaslo. The portion, since we have here this GCM is 75, that changes the Manos, the portion. So we do like this. The first line, here we use the law of sines. Sine CEO over CO is equal to sine ECO over EO. This is the relationship of the sides and the angles. Look up in Google law of sines and you'll understand it. So we get, after solving this formula, that ECO is the angle ECO is 0.13. It's a tiny, tiny angle. It's a 1/10 of a degree. That's how small ECO is. That's what we use this relationship to find. We know ECO. We know so we know the angle of 0.6. That's the angle of ECO. I'm sorry, of C. Again, CEO is known. That's 0.6. And CO is also known. We just need to find the angle of ECO. That comes out to be 1.13. You can just, just take a look at this line. You can stop the video and look at the line, and you see how we do it through the solving the equation. So ECO is a very small angle, less than CEO. CEO is 0.6 degree. Now obviously the bulk of the angle is by EOC. That's 180 minus 0.13 minus 0.6. So it's 179. So it's almost 180 degrees. That's how wide the angle of EOC is. Now we use another formula, also the law of sines, to find what EC is, the length of EC. So we say EC over sine 179 is equal to 4/8 divided by sine of 0.6. Again, we use the relationship law of sines. We solve for EC. EC turns out to be 5.8. So EC is bigger, obviously, than CO. So it's 5. That's only 4. Next. Now, we need to use the law of cosines. Look up in Google what that is. To solve for EM, the length of EM. And for that we use this formula: EM squared is equal to EC squared plus CM squared plus 2 times ECCM cosine ECM. The opposite angle of EM. And that is, the angle of ECM is 180 minus 75, because GCM is 75.57, and the rest, the remainder, that's ECM. So we get EM squared is 35 and EM is 5.9. That's we finally solved for EM. EM is a drop bigger than EC. Now we use again the law of sines. Sine CEM over CM is sine ECM over EM, because we need to know the angle of CEM. That's our tachlis, CEM. So we use this relationship, sine CEM over CM is sine, and then we finally get the Manos HaMaslo CEM. So it's quite lengthy, but this is the only way to do it. And the Rambam gets very close. The Rambam gets also very close to 5 degrees for a Manasseh muscle of 75. I'm sorry, for muscle on Lachen. Anyway, I hope watch this video many times if you need. I said it very fast, but you can always